feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. Hello and welcome. You're listening to episode 36 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And here we are at the halfway mark of 2018. We are cruising along. Those goals that you set back in January, do you remember those? Maybe you don't remember. How are you doing with them? I'm wondering, do you remember what they are? I think the data suggests that most of the New Year's resolutions and New Year's goals that get set in January, by February, it's some very small percentage of people who can even name what their goals or resolutions were. So if you did forget yours, you're not alone. And if you're not making progress toward your goals, you might be feeling a sense of pressure to get moving, to race to catch up. And what I want to talk about today is maybe going to make you feel a little better, because I'm going to talk about how sometimes taking rapid action is not actually ideal. Right? This is not my normal MO, y'all. Like, what I usually would be telling you is take action, even if it's imperfect action. Any progress is good progress. But today, we're going to take a little bit of a different tack at this, and we're going to talk about when you may need to slow down, even if it makes you uncomfortable, and catch your breath and get some clarity before you move forward. Okay? So that's going to be the gist of today's episode, is when is it that you might actually need to slow down, and what is the cost that you might pay if you don't, right? What is the price you might pay if you don't slow down when that's in fact what you should be doing? So here's the highlight. I want you to picture, I heard this little device recently from a friend, and I think it's really appropriate for today. I want you to picture that you pick up from your desk one of those old school snow globes, the kind that has the glass dome at the top, and you shake it up hard in your hand, back and forth, back and forth. And when you look at it, what you see is all of that snow is stirred up, and it's made it very difficult to see anything. It's obscuring your view. You can't see the little figure inside. How do you get it clear? What do you do when you need the snow globe to clear so that you can see again? You hold it perfectly still. And when you hold it perfectly still, over time, it doesn't take very long, all of those little flakes that have been stirred up and that are just flying around and obscuring your view, they settle to the bottom, and you're able to see perfectly again. And that is exactly what we want to talk about today. It is the perfect metaphor for when you need to bring some stillness into the picture. And it's when you don't have clarity. When you're not sure which course of action you should take, when you're not sure if you're on the right path, when you're not sure if you know how to do this, those are the times that you need to slow down and bring some stillness into the picture until you find it. Because what I see far too many high-achieving women doing is just racing headlong down the path of achievement without pausing to get that clarity. And that can be a recipe for disaster. I mean, it really can bring some unintended consequences into the picture. So let's talk about what 3 of them are. What are 3 things that could happen if you don't get clarity before you act. The first thing that can happen is it's a path to burnout, right? So burnout is caused by doing, right? This constant cycle of doing, but not getting where you want to go. The feeling that there's like futility in it leads to burnout. And also, if you are not connected to the right why, if you don't have a really well-constructed why that matters to you, that can lead to burnout. Because again, all of this action can feel like it's for naught, right? It's not leading anywhere. So when you don't pause to get the clarity, you might not be on the right path, which can lead to burnout, or you might be taking a lot of unnecessary actions that are not really lined up to get you where you truly want to go. And that just ultimately dulls all your senses, and what we say is, God, I just feel really burned out. So burnout is far on the end of like having been doing this for a while. We can go through sort of low grade periods of burnout along the path, and it can get so bad that you end up, making really irrational decisions about what's next. And that's all really avoidable by taking some time and investing some energy in getting clarity. So that's the first one, is burnout. The second consequence of not taking that pause and just kind of continuing to race forward is exhaustion. And I think at the end of the day, exhaustion is really driven by making poor choices, or maybe better said, not making choices at all. When we just run and do, and we never really stop to think about, is this what I want to be doing? Is it what I should be doing? Is it getting me where I truly want to go? We have no focus, right? We become inefficient, and we're operating at like half steam. So exhaustion is what comes about when we're pushing ourselves, despite the lack of clarity, to continue to perform. It is chronic. It is like an epidemic among the women that I work with. When I cross paths with somebody who ultimately knows that they need to get into a coaching program and get their life on the track they really want it to be on, they're almost always exhausted on the front end, like chronically exhausted, not getting enough sleep, not getting enough of the right food, not getting enough water, never taking any downtime. It's this sort of just driven, gritty sort of state of being. And I think foundational to that is not having inserted these well-timed pauses to get clarity, an unwillingness to slow down long enough to get clarity and sort of take stock and then put all your actions really efficiently in the right direction. So exhaustion is the second sort of side effect of not having clarity, not slowing down long enough to get clarity.
Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
The third, beyond burnout, beyond exhaustion, is regret. Now, this one, I want to connect the dots on a little bit. Let's take the scenario of someone who is on a path at work that they no longer think is the right path, right? Maybe they're an attorney who's trying to make partner, or maybe they are a resident, who is trying to become a physician, or maybe they are a professor who's trying to make tenure. Like they're on these paths at work that require sustained effort, and it's starting to feel like it's not the right path, that they got on this track and now they don't know how to get off of it. And what they'll often do is they do not want to take a pause. They do not want to think. They just want to get to the finish line. They want to get to the Holy Grail. And so they double down on their efforts to get there. And they wake up years later and they can't get that time back, because the thing that they were reaching for, stretching for, grabbing for didn't actually bring the satisfaction they thought it would bring. It's sort of the mindset of, I can't leave now, look how far I've come. So they don't pause and they keep going, but ultimately the thing they thought they were striving for doesn't come with the set of feelings that they were expecting. Instead, it comes with this pool of regret that they can't get those years back. And this one is probably the saddest of all. Burnout and exhaustion are a big deal, but this path of regret is very difficult to unwind. So what I'm always heartened by when I meet someone who is potentially walking down this path is, the ability to show them how powerful a well-timed pause can be to bring that level of clarity, right? To sort of still the snow globe and bring the level of clarity so that all of the energy that they are about to expend is with purpose. All of the running that they're going to do, all the work they're going to put in, all the time and effort and energy and hours are going to be for something that they've already gotten clarity is really important to them. This plays out in all walks of life, right? It plays out even for the person who decides, I really do want to make a partner. That really is the path I want to be on. When that clarity is there, all the work has purpose. When the clarity is questionable, we don't feel the sense of reward from the effort. So those are 3 times, 3 side effects of potentially going down a path hard and fast when you don't have clarity. It can lead to burnout, it can lead to exhaustion, and it can lead to regret. Now, this is important, a very important difference. There is a difference between a lack of clarity and a lack of confidence. When you have a lack of clarity, stillness is what will help you find the clarity so that you can get moving rapidly again. When you don't have confidence, you will actually be drawn to moving slowly. And we call that procrastination. You will find every reason in the book not to take action when what you say you're feeling is a lack of confidence, all right? But in that case, my advice is do not slow down. When you have clarity that this path is right for you, but you're just nervous about it, then you want to get moving. That's when I am encouraging women to double down, to pedal to the metal, take action, even if it is imperfect action. Because here we're fighting through our own tendency to slow down. So we would procrastinate because of fear. Because we believe that when we get on this road, there may be judgment that we're not good enough. There may be failure, that we have to recover from. There may be loss, trade-offs, opportunity costs that are connected to this path. But when the only thing that we're lacking is confidence, then we don't really want to slow down. We want to move forward in spite of that, sort of holding the fear in our hands and summoning courage. So I think it's an important difference to draw because sometimes we can conflate a lack of confidence with a lack of clarity. They are not the same thing. And learning to recognize the difference will be very, very important in you getting where you want to go. So clarity matters. And it is not a big deal in our culture. We don't have a lot of practices in our culture, particularly among high achieving, very busy, working mothers who are running households, upkeeping marriages, keeping children alive, keeping jobs moving forward. We don't place a high value on stillness and on clarity. We place a high value, as a society, what we're valuing is productivity and efficiency and getting a lot of stuff done. But I say none of that matters if you're not doing the right stuff. So the clarity work, which often comes through reflection and slowing down long enough to think, creating some breathing room to actually gather your thoughts and then, creating a plan to line out your actions. That does not happen when we are running at a breakneck pace. That only happens when we carve out some space, and that is hard to do. It's not something that our culture instinctively rewards. Okay? So I'm going to say this today. If you feel a need, a yearning to get some clarity, if you know that what you need is to slow down a little bit and get clarity so that you can move forward without friction, I want to make sure you find out about my Breakthrough program. So Breakthrough is the program that I run. It's a 12-week coaching program. It's a done with you process, like it's implementation based for, sometimes I call them women on a mission, like really high achieving women who know they have something big to do. This program has been designed to help you get that clarity, and to really carve the space out of your life that you're going to need to do the reflection, and then to repurpose that time that you reclaim to go after the things that you want the most once you're crystal clear on what they are. So Breakthrough is something that is not for everybody. But if you really hear yourself in this story of, gosh, I need to get some clarity. I don't know how to do it. I just run and run and run all day. We should talk about that. So what I'll do to just make that simple is I will put in the show notes how you can get more information about that and how we can have a conversation about Breakthrough if that is something that you'd like to do. Whether you do it with me or not, you must do it. You have to kind of stay connected to this idea that clarity is the thing that's going to drive you forward without friction. And the only way to get clarity is to bring a little bit of stillness and reflection, to this phase of your life so that you know what comes next and you can go after it at that point with everything you have. Cool? So that's the big idea for today. And I'm going to connect this to next time. The next time we're together, I'm going to share some thoughts on the first hour of the day. And it's related to this concept of clarity, but I'm going to talk about why the first hour of the day matters more than all the rest. And I'm going to give you some really practical ideas for how you can structure that hour of the day so that it really serves you and sets you up for success every day when your feet hit the floor. That is all for today. Come join me in the Brilliant Balance Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, go to groups, search Brilliant Balance. You'll find us there. And until then, my friends, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.